Getting your morning started the right way with the AM Caffeine Morning Show.
Caffeine Morning Show. Start you off with that.
AM Caffeine Show. AM Caffeine Show. What up? It's your boy DOC.
It's your girl Marlo J.
And DJ Smooth Melody.
We're back at you. Marlo, can you turn up just a little bit? You sounded good and then you went low.
What happened?
You sound like you went low again.
I'm low?
Get low.
Yep, get low. You
I'm
know how
low.
you like to get low. AM Caffeine Show. We back at it today. Special guest in the building. I don't even want to say, yeah, she's a friend of the show. Been on the show before. We all have known her just from her career and personally. She's accomplished so much and continues to do so many different things. The one and only, gosh dang it. One of my most favoriteest. Is favoriteest a word?
It is today.
It is today. Okay.
It is today.
One of my most favoriteest people in the whole damn world, the one and only Big Mother effing Ron. Les, what's going on, Big Les? And I can't even act like I don't really see Les, because we'll see Les out or we'll see her at the station. But I have to. Wait, Marlon, why do you hate on Black Love, though? Don't hate on Black Love.
First of all, nobody hates no Black Love. But, I mean, the way that you be oohing and ahhing about Les.
I love Les.
Let me just say.
I love Les.
Okay.
I received your love. Thank you.
He's so annoying. It's like you can't even bring up your name, and he'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I take it. One. Thank you.
Big Les in the building. So, Les, how you been, Les? How you been?
Legendary dog.
Yeah, absolutely. How you been, Les?
I'm trying not to eat everything in my damn house, man. It's crazy.
It's rough, ain't it?
It's real.
Oh, my God. I've, hunkered down and bought stuff just in case, stuff that I never have in my house, and I'm making, 10 trips to the kitchen a day. I'm not burning enough calories. I'm like, I got to come out of this thing snatched, not that.
Oh, my God. But, Leslie, come on. I just saw you on Fox on Good Day 11 doing full and trying to encourage us to do these planking, twisting things. I was like, oh my God. Then I went to your page and see you doing full headstands. I said, come on now, this is irresponsible. Nobody can do this.
Right. We'll send somebody to the emergency room, lad.
Well, thank you. First of all, the Fox Fitness thing came compliments of my girl Marlo telling a friend who told a friend who called me, and it was the bomb experience. But you guys know that my background in fitness has been long and strong. That's what my degree was in college, exercise physiology and sports medicine. I am a mad ADD, can't sit still, gymnast, tomboy still to this age. So yes, I'm still trapezing, trampolining, jumping out of planes, and doing what I need to do. I'm going to be Jack LaLanne and Jackie Chan. So
better. You better.
So, Les, what is your, in trying to stay in shape and all that, is there a regimen that you stick to all the time, or do you switch it up? Kind of what's your process?
No, I definitely got to switch it up because I get bored real easy. And I think everybody's body needs shock treatment. Once you get complacent or your body gets used to something, it hits the plateau. So you got to do something every day, every week that's different. So for me, whether it's jumping rope, I have to kind of go high extreme because that's kind of how I'm wired. So whether it's a kickboxing class or a trampoline class, or I'm back to tumbling, or I'm not a runner. Running is not because of stamina, but because of my knees. I hated it since I was in high school. So I switch it up. I swim. I'm a black girl who swims, so I don't mind if my hair gets nappy and I look crazy like a chia pet. So I do all of it. I got to do what it takes to keep it snatched. J-Lo ain't the only bitch out here trying to, keep it cute.
Hello. So Les, there's a couple things that from the last time you were here that I thought about that I wanted to ask you. Well, you know what? First and foremost, you have done so much work with a lot of the iconic artists that were signed to Uptown Records, and just the passing of, the creator and CEO of Uptown, Andre Harrell. How did that news come to you? Where were you when you heard that?
Oh my God. Someone texted me and just simply said, oh my God, it's so sad about Andre. And I, of course, didn't know. It could be Andre 3000. It could be Andre Harrell. It could be, Andre Rising. Like, I don't know because, and not to drop names, but these are people like my circle that I've passed by, whatever. So I really had no idea. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about?
Right.
And then the phone call comes because nobody wants to tell you over text. And I'm like, say what? So then I'm like, let me check the news sources to make sure that their information is true before I say anything or do anything.
Right.
And it really devastated me because Andre and I, over these last couple of weeks, seriously weeks, have been texting back and forth because I'm in the middle of shooting my documentary. It's time that I turn into my Debbie Allen and become a producer and director. And so I'm doing interviews. And Andre and I were really scheduling, me, myself, him, Alonzo Brown, who was part of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We'd all been in conversation over the last couple of weeks. And we had like 3 dates set that got moved because he was in the middle of shooting his BET documentary. And Andre Harrell has been an integral part of my career. Andre, Puffy, and the whole Uptown Records family literally was the start of like, once I danced for Keith Sweat, then everybody else was Uptown. It was Father MC, it was Heavy D, it was Mary J. Blige, was my first big choreography gig, doing Real Love and doing You Remind Me, working with Josie, like all those guys and that whole family are groups that I've worked with. And be part of the whole Uptown thing, growing up in New York and seeing what they built from Uptown to when Andre went to Motown to now whole Bad Boy Entertainment and Revolt TV. I'm only a small part of their fiber, but they're a big, huge part of my fiber. And so for him to be gone is just too soon, too devastating. But also with me in doing this documentary, I also realized I can't talk to Heavy D. I can't talk to Whitney Houston. I can't talk to Michael Jackson. I can't talk to John Singleton. And now I can't talk to Andre Harrell.
Wow.
So the time of urgency to tell my story and the story of like the 90s and the golden era and all these people who've been impactful to what my journey has been has to be now. Even my mom is in her 80s and she's, doing her thing and works out and she's fabulous, but I got to get her on camera to tell my story and our story and all of that stuff. So it's been hard hitting and I can only imagine what Puffy's going through. And it's been a blessing that he was able to give Andre his flowers during, I think it was the Revolt conference or during
that great speech.
Right,
Wow. So that's really dope. You are doing this documentary.
Hey.
Go ahead, go ahead, Marlo, because I'll keep going. Go ahead.
You will.
I will. Yeah. Go ahead, Marlo.
I'm like, hey, I'm double dutching in here. Okay. For those of you, so two things, because I got to get mine in, right? So one, what would you say is the one thing that you get most recognized for? Like people will say like, oh my God.
It's crazy because even though it's like a whole 90s, 2000 era, which there's different generations in there. So there are people who literally, even before I got on Rap City and still, and I don't understand it, recognize me from the back because my silhouette, or aren't you the girl who flips and aren't you the gymnast? And then it became like, aren't you that girl from Living Single? So I get that. And then once I started doing Rap City and people kind of put the name to the girl who danced, and it's like, yo, I used to race home after school to watch blah, 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 blah. So then I get that. And then depending on like being in LA, hanging with our peers and radio and stuff, I get those people who listen to me in different stations from Atlanta to New York and LA. So it kind of bounces around. I'm just happy folks have a clue. I'm going, don't you owe me money? Like, because it could be that.
Absolutely. Listen, I don't know how often I get, Les? Yo, she still look good. She's in the Illuminati, ain't she? I be like, okay, first of all, I want to know that, I want to feel like if she was in Illuminati, she would have let me know, let me know what I need to do,
Listen, I had to have private conversations with Father Time and Mother Nature because I'm fighting aging. I don't want to see no gray, not on me, not on my man, none of that. So yeah, I'm keeping a bottle of whatever. The only thing that's the telltale is I got reading glasses now, and I'll be like, what?
So wait, you don't mind your man using a little Beijing?
Oh, not at all. Just don't get it on my, 1,000 thread count sheets. But no, I don't mind.
I mean, you don't need to do a double wash before you get in bed. You got to do a double wash. I'm sorry, baby.
Right. But I'll actually buy in the bottle. I prefer that. I want somebody who's youthful, who wants to stay youthful. I guess I have Peter Pan syndrome, and I'm like the Energizer Bunny, so I can't keep still, and I'm always moving, and I'm, an adventure seeker and all that. So somebody got to keep up with me, needs to be on that page too.
So do you find yourself dating more like younger dudes?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, because these older guys, and even guys my age, aren't taking care of themselves. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I work hard for my physical fitness. So I expect somebody else to do the same. You know what I mean? You can't be sitting on the couch and I'm walking past you 10 times and you haven't moved. You know what I mean? I want us to have a commonality. And I also want people who have respect for their health, especially when it comes to, you can fight cholesterol and high blood pressure and diabetes and all that stuff, and you choose not to, then you're not for me. So.
You better talk your talk. I see what you're doing there. I see what you did there. But another thing is do you find it hard to date because I know just because my experience, I'm living in New York, we have similar body structure in terms of we. And so I know the men are all over you. So do you find it challenging to date with men, or do you mind dating men that are actually fans?
Okay, so we're a little all over the place with that question for me to answer. First of all, it's been a long time since I've had to date because I was in a relationship for 17 years. So this is new, but I'm still in the same city in LA that even when I was single, really doesn't have men that look for girls like me. The majority of men here still want that Kim Kardashian looking chick. So LA has never been the city for me to date. I have to either go to the East Coast or a Latin country or overseas for men to just be like, well, damn, Ma, how you doing? I also have to decipher sometimes for those who watch, what I've done, if they're interested in Big Les or if they're interested in Leslie Segar. So that's always kind of the thing. I've fooled around with a fan before, but those fans turn to be like stalkers, and it's not a cute situation. So no, I don't mind if somebody kind of knows and respects who I am. I want them to actually be unbothered by it or respected in that sense and come full forward with, oh yeah, I've been watching you for years, but how are you doing? What's going on with you? What kind of things, you know what I mean? Really just be invested in having a conversation with me and not who I hang with and who I know. And can I get them tickets for this, that, and the other? So I have to kind of spend time deciphering that, and it's a crapshoot, it's always a crapshoot.
Do you find it, okay, I'm sorry, this is for real, this is the last.
No, you good. No, you good.
I feel like you over there like ready,
no,
fight.
I'm taking notes.
All the time.
I'm taking notes.
I'm an open book, so.
I'm taking notes. Yeah, don't mind the fan. No problem with a Beijing. Okay. Okay, so do you find it, okay, I want to date somebody that I can learn from and that I admire, right? I don't necessarily know if that will come in the younger than I form. I'm open to it, but I don't really know. So do you find that you have like maybe 5 things that a guy must have for you to even consider him?
Oh, absolutely. Probably more like 20.
Okay, give me 5.
But I'm somebody who I call myself a sapiosexual, which is somebody who is really attracted to somebody's mind. I like a man who knows a little about a lot, so that if we can have a conversation about Greek mythology, about the Bible, about the civil rights, whatever, the politics that's going on today, and the comedy show that happened on Netflix, I like that. That's what turns me on initially. All the physical things that I like, beautiful teeth, smile, big hands, taller than me, athletic, like all that stuff is typical. I want someone who, one, is ready. Ready meaning to be respectful, to be loyal, to be ready to elevate and evolve. I want someone who I don't have to elevate and evolve. I've done it before. And I'm saying that now because it's always been, I didn't need the guy with money. As long as you are ambitious and hungry and you work hard, sorry, these lights are making me hot as hell.
I'm over here fanning. My light is hot too.
As long as you're that guy who really has a plan and motivated, then I'm team you, and whatever we need to do, I got you. If I got to help cut a check, and because we're in this together. But I've done that twice with two men who've also done it for me. I just happened to be further along when we got into the relationship. And then, they cheated or whatever, and the relationship ended. And so here I am, and I finessed them for somebody else. So now I'm looking for the man who's already 2 steps ahead of me, who, even though I have a gazillion passport stamps, can take me to places I've never been before, to restaurants I've never eaten at before, to shows I've never seen before, teach me some knowledge that I don't know, who can make some things happen that I can't make for myself. And that's what I'm looking for. That's like a mandatory requirement at this point. So I'm going to continue to enjoy the journey of dating, whatever that looks like. But until that one sparks me and I'm like, oh, that's my match. Then that's when we lock them down. And just so you know, marriage has not been like a deal breaker for me. I know when I say, I was with my guy for 17 years and y'all weren't married. No, we weren't married. But marriage to me doesn't define a woman, right? So you always, I think, instead of asking a woman, how come you didn't get married? You should ask, well, do you want to get married? Because
right.
at the end of the day, women are defined by whether they have a ring on their finger or thinking that, he's getting the milk for free and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case, So at some point, I would love to get married, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I'd rather have a companion and a partner and a ride or die with me. And in my last relationship, all of the paperwork was done year 3, things that people who are married haven't done. Our life insurance policy, our living trust, our health proxy, our long-term care, all of that stuff was done year 3, except
I don't even know what health proxy is.
Proxy.
So
proxy.
But so right now, but I'm just enjoying, I'm making up for lost time. I'm making up for my wasted time, and
listen,
I'm just mad I can't travel right now.
Have you ever dated or been in a relationship with anybody that we know, that is famous?
Marla,
what was the shoulders? What was the shoulders?
Because I know, because Leslie knows everybody. She knows and everybody knows her. So I know that it had to have been somebody that she...
Some slip up? There had to have been some little slip up?
Right, that she was dating, or that she don't claim no more, or something.
See, Marla, we friends, but now I'll put you on blast because you asked me this question. So if I don't say any names, it's only because I'm saving it for my documentary and my book.
Got you.
But
okay.
Marlo and I, in fact, are Eskimo sisters.
Ah!
Dated the same guy. I was in a relationship with him for 5 years. I think, Marlo, maybe you came after. I don't know.
I did. I came after. But we wasn't a relationship. We wasn't a relationship. We just
smashed my ex.
Damn.
You smashed the homie.
Smashed
the homie.
So wait a second. Wait.
This is before I knew. This is before I knew.
Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
This is before I knew.
No, I got that.
I just find out.
No, I got that.
I did not know. Leslie, I am trying to get you to tell them that I just say to you, I was like, I never knew that.
We were all together back in New York.
Oh, look at Marlo's. Look at that side eye.
I promise you I didn't know. I thought that he was dating Maria.
What was his name again? It was
None of your business. That's none of your business.
But what disclaimer that I say is that Marlo and I weren't friends like that back then.
Right.
You know what I
Knew each other.
Yeah.
But we weren't like we are now.
Once you guys figured out, hey, you know what? I smashed your ex, dude. For real? Well, did he do this to you? How many did you guys? I know there was some comparison. I know.
No.
You didn't. Come on.
Did I say something? I think I did say
Yeah, exactly. Come on, keep it 100. Keep it a
I'm over here like, no. Leslie's like.
She shared some of the sexcapade stuff.
I did.
You know, and I didn't say anything. But again, that was somebody that I was with for 5 years, and
that was her dude.
I thought that that was the first time I was in a relationship with somebody that I thought about this could be my husband. But then he cheated. Oh, wow. And that relationship of 5 years ended in 30 seconds. And I didn't speak to him for a very long time.
30 seconds?
And
30 seconds. I saw something, I confirmed it, and it was a wrap.
He confirmed it, or you confirmed it with somebody else?
Oh, I confirmed it with everybody in the room, and then he confirmed it. It happened in front of me. It happened in front of me. It happened around my homegirls. It happened in front of his roommate, who I happened to be talking to at the time. I saw his interaction with somebody, and I'm not. If anybody knows me, I am not a jealous chick, which tends to be a curse, because then men think that, well, what's wrong with you? You don't react. You act like you don't need anything. I'm like, what? I don't need to stalk you. Either you show up or you don't. But not to digress. And when I saw what I saw, his roommate turned around and saw my face, and I saw his roommate's face, and his face was like, which told me everything. Talked to the girl while we were standing there, and before shit went from 0 to 20, my girls was ready to jump her the whole bit. We got him, asked him the question, and his response in that moment was, I'm not gonna dignify this with an answer. Left. I stayed out the rest of the night. By the time I got home, he was in front of my building, giving me all kinds of excuses, tears, the whole shit. And I just was done. I'm not somebody who can tolerate disrespect and disloyalty. And even in the relationship that happened with my 17-year guy, that ended, I kind of being older was like, all right, let me see what forgiveness looks like. Because year 15 and a half, I found out that he had been having an affair with one of Usher's dancers for 2 years. The begging, pleading, let's stay, let's go to therapy, let's work it out. I talked to 12 different couples. 11 of those 12 couples were like, who had been married for long periods of time, or some had been on their second marriages, for like, give it a try, go to counseling. You guys been together a long time. See if you can forgive. It's probably just been this one time. I'm like, it's not like it was a one-night stand. This was an
right. It was a long-term thing. Yeah.
So I think on the inside was already done and the trust was gone. But I'm like, okay, maybe this could just be a chapter in this book. Go to therapy, which could be either the best thing or the worst thing for you. For us, it was the worst thing because it exposes you. It exposes you, and people don't like to be exposed. So as we tried to navigate working on that ourselves, 6 months later, I find out that he had also been in a relationship with someone for 8 years.
Wow.
And that point, it was off with your head. And so people say, well, how did you not know? One, because I'm not a snooper. Two, he never called me a different name. He never not showed up, never not answered the phone, and he never really left the house, with the exception of he's somebody in the business.
They live together.
We've lived together for the full 17.
Damn.
Wars in the music industry, and I'm literally on the road with him 2 to 3 weeks out of that. And not to say anything can't happen, and not to say that I, as a person who toured, haven't seen families destroyed and women in different cities and stuff. And I always said from the jump, I better not see it, smell it, taste it, feel it, nothing. I better not be disrespected or anything. But when he was home, for 17 years, we have a studio in the back of the house, and he never left. Was always home unless he had a session. And I could Skype him, FaceTime him in Morocco, in China, be on the Skype for 3 hours, see everybody in the room. And either the girl was behind the computer or he sent her to her room and would call her back. And I realized, in the studio, there's a whole other life going on. All the Skyping with the girl in Australia, all the FaceTiming and, masturbation sessions with the girl in London that I didn't know about. So when people say, well, how did you not know? Because he showed up for me.
Why not?
Wait. So Les, so she knew her role. Like she knew about you?
Oh, I found out that they knew because they had me blocked on like Instagram and social media, which means you had to have a discussion with them to tell them my first and last name to block me. So at some point, now it's not even about him. Me and you got to have a conversation. And so that took a whole other turn. So this is going to be part of the book and part of my movie before I start getting into details.
Damn, I can't wait for this book.
Right.
But needless to say, 17 years of disrespect was over. And I say this in an empowering way to the men and to the women. To the men out there You don't have to be married. You don't have to live with anyone. You don't have to even be in a relationship. You can be a bachelor for the rest of your fucking life if you choose to. There are women out here who will just still cater to you, who are cool with you guys being able to see other people. There are women out here who will do that. You don't have to put my health at risk by having unprotected sex with somebody. We were trying to start a family, so now I got to worry about if another bitch shows up pregnant and if I catch something. So when you see that TV show Snapped, where it's like people have, what do they call it?
Mental breaks.
Mental breakdowns, but it's like affairs of the heart or whatever, or anger of the heart or whatever they call it.
Crime of passion.
Yeah, when you see that, I absolutely understand it. Because when you look at somebody every single day and they say, I love you, I got you, you're my ride or die, you're my best friend. When they drop to their knees and beg you to forgive them and let's work on this. And then you see the proof. And for me, the proof was seeing phone calls and text messages every day while you're watching a movie together, while you're at the restaurant, on your birthday, on Christmas with the family. And stuff like that doesn't leave your brain. So that kind of disloyalty and stuff really does something to someone. And you don't have to damage women like that.
Right.
Men can choose to be a bachelor for the rest of their lives and find a partner, somebody who'll have your baby, somebody who'll just come over and cook, and somebody who'll just sexually hook you up, and you can see as many as you want. To the women, I say, make sure you know your rights, because us living together in a state where there is no common law, and that's what the misconception is, and thank God I'm smart enough to know that. People think that if you live with somebody for 7 years, that suddenly, there's cohabitation and there's common law, and that's not the case at all. But because all of the properties were mine, I had made sure that while we had done our paperwork and our living trust, that it was designated as mine. So that now here we are going through our version of divorce because we're not married. I still have rights. I have what's called the Lee Marvin claim, palimony, and now all the promises you made to take care of me, all the promises you made that I held myself back from having a relationship with other people, the fact that you put my health at risk, now it's going to cost you. So it wasn't even about the affairs. It's about that my 17 years I can't get back. And so thank God I was victorious. I'm not only allowed to say settlement, but I'll never be, there's not enough money on the planet that can get me my 17 years back.
Right.
That can get me my sanity, that can get me my fertility. I could have had a family with a whole other person. So now that looks different for me moving forward, right? You could have been out 8 years ago if you were so unhappy and still was begging to stay and work it out and fix this. And everybody who I talked, other people who I talked to are like, well, affairs really aren't about you, or, men just want something new and different. Fuck that. We had conversations about if you were ever unhappy or you wanted some other ass. Let's talk about it. But don't sit here and think you're going to put my health at risk. And that's the thing that really was like, so once I dried my tears and got back to being Leslie, and of course, I had to take consideration to whatever I brought to the relationship that made us feel separated. And I couldn't understand it because I'm not someone who argues. And literally, we weren't a couple who argued. We were still going out on dates. We were still having great sex. We were still traveling the road. We were still hanging out together. Like, we actually still liked each other. There's obviously that moment where couples sometimes get real comfortable into like that roommate situation. And it was like, okay, hold up. We got to get back to date night. Like, let's fix that. But I realized for me, this scenario, once I found out, and I didn't say anything for a while, but I was moving in silence. Like, I was stacking my dough. I was making decisions. I took his name off of being the beneficiary of everything, and I didn't say nothing. And I was like, even to myself, I said, if we get through this, I will never put your name back on anything. You're going to know in my death that you fucked up and you disrespected the wrong person.
Damn. Damn.
They're going hard to paint. Yes. So Les, how does this affect your trust going forward?
I don't, and I didn't do it before with my last relationship. I don't put anything on the next person. They're not guilty me going into this relationship. It's not going to start me snooping and all this other stuff because I always go off for energy. I probably will pay more attention. Right. But I'm an open book, and I always have been. And I honestly, when I say I would rather have my feelings hurt than to be lied to. Tell me if you're not unhappy. Tell me if you don't want to be here. But don't go on starting all these other relationships when you don't have to. Right. You know what I'm saying? Had I called brothers, had I called Pookie and them, had I done something crazy to tear your ass up for being disrespectful, I look like the crazy one, right? When all you have to do is say, right, 3 words you have to say. I'm not happy. This ain't working. I want out. 2 words. I'm out. Right? Instead of 8 years of a relationship with that person, 2 years with a relationship. What if I would have caught something? My mother would have hopped on a plane to kill you. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for all of that. So men, you don't have to hurt women. You know what I'm saying? And women, know your power, know your rights. And literally, once I went to therapy because the anger and the rage was so much that I
hear the passion.
Word.
I hear the passion too.
I didn't even recognize myself. And the thoughts and the anger and, you know, Marlo knows because I called her quite a few times.
The way that I move, I'm irrational. So I'm just like, yo, what you want to do? You want what you want?
Right. And so
what you
Let's go.
About me too. You know, I uncovered the things that maybe I brought into the house or the relationship, and that don't give you a pass for doing what you do. But sure, there were moments where I think I was depressed because the phone wasn't ringing as much. I wasn't being as creative as much. I wasn't traveling as much. I'm hustling to get all these deals done and it's not happening. It's like nobody's calling me back. You know, I'm not dancing anymore. I needed major surgery for something, like all these things. So yeah, but if you're with somebody who's in the business, who they're supposed to be one, sympathetic to knowing what this journey is, especially if they've been in that position before.
Right.
Their phone calls weren't coming in and they weren't working and they were depressed that somebody else got the job and you were still holding them down like you got it. Because as artists, we know what this is. We know that it really isn't about us, but you still have to make moves and try and figure it out without having to go to like a 9 to 5 that you hate. And that's the part about being a creator, but you still got bills to pay. So then you take these jobs that you hate, that make you miserable, that cause you to be miserable in the house, but that's part of the journey. And when you have somebody who says, I got you, I support you, we can do this, don't worry about it. You know I'm no slouch. You know I'm no bum chick. You know I'm not looking at you for money because I got my own. I just hit a wall. But you hit a wall before too.
Absolutely.
But he's having his midlife crisis and suddenly he's growing up in the ranks and he got all these little dancers in his face. He started feeling himself, you know? And he's no longer my problem. I could care less what's going on with him. I just want people to know, or men to know, that I'm not coming in angry. I'm not coming in bitter on some sneaky shit. I'm not coming in distrusting you. You know, I've learned what my lessons are and stuff. And I'm just glad that for me, there was a moment where I didn't think that I had any rights in court. And then I was like, I wasn't at peace about him being able to go ahead and start a whole other life with somebody else and have family and whatever the case is. And here I am, and mine are different, me starting a family in a different way because you took those years from me. And once I decided to pull the trigger and get a lawyer, and it was the best peace of mind I got. And then when I got victory in court, that was even bigger piece for me because now you're gonna see how expensive that pussy was. And it's gonna cost you.
Damn!
Very much. I hope it was worth it. You just turned your best friend into your worst enemy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I've never heard Les be this raw before.
Man.
I'm at the stage and the place and the age in my life where I'm an open book.
Seriously, I feel it.
You know? Because you've seen it happen to, and it doesn't matter. It happened to Beyonce. It happened to Halle Berry with Eric.
Renee.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter about your status and money. We're all human. We're all on the same field.
Shut up, Marlo.
And this is my journey. And anybody who's mad at my truth, then you shouldn't have done the bad behavior. So too bad. I'm naming names, and that's how it's coming out.
Whoa, hello, God. Well, I wasn't ready for all that, but I understand.
I'm rolling now. You know, when you're a woman of a certain age, and no one over the years, like Marlo asks, you've never seen really who I dated, and I've had some major NBA and NFL players in my life, and some other artists, none that I've ever worked for who've written me a check. But there was no social media then, and even now I don't have my romances on because it's nobody's business, and that just opens it up to a whole other.
Absolutely.
When is book coming out? When is book coming out?
Right. Stop playing.
It's in the works. It's going to be a minute. It's cathartic. It's absolutely therapy and cathartic. But doing so many things between a documentary and that, it's gonna be a minute.
And will the documentary be out? Why did I say two B's? Will the documentary be out before the book?
It's hard to tell. Documentaries take a long time. The hard part now is we were shooting before. We had shot Bobby Brown. We were getting ready to shoot Teddy Riley. And here we are in this pandemic. So we've been shooting some interviews like this on Zoom. Don't know how well that's going to translate once we get into editing, but there's so many people that I have to grab, and their schedules are crazy, and this has been the hardest part. And right now, nobody's hopping on planes and all this other stuff. And then it's going to be about getting the rights to like music and music videos. So it's going to be a process.
Right.
And I think most documentaries take like 3 years, 4 years. So we'll see. I'm trying to scramble as fast as I can, but it's about quality. I'm not going to rush it. As long as I can get everybody on tape.
Your story. Who's doing your story in documentary form?
Well, I'm working with some really great people. Director Kevin Swain. I'm working with producer Tobias Daniels. And I'm working with writer, former editor-in-chief of XXL Magazine. He wrote the history of gangster rap, Soren Baker. And so he's going to be the one.
Soren. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I'm telling in little bits and pieces, but I'll tell all the real behind the scenes. And there may be a script that's in here too. Because when I hear myself talking to Marlo about it, it's like a Lifetime movie, right?
It is.
Because there's all these little things that I'm not sure. Yeah, that's
I mean, that's why when you were saying the book and hearing the passion, it feels like if I could hear that in like an audio book form. So, but hearing your voice and just, I can hear the journey in as you tell us some of these things. So I think hearing it in that form would even be dope too, like an audio book or something like that.
Would be another dope thing. It would be really dope if you did like a 10-part series of a show, like how they do in American Soul. It's a show about Soul Train. Mm-hmm. If you did like a 10-part series and each episode was about like working with this particular artist as yourself. Like Les comes in and this is how it was working with Biggie. This is how it was working with Michael Jackson. This is how it was working. Because you listen, if you need me to go ahead and write it up.
The audio book is something I've definitely already talked about doing, like with Kevin Hart doing his and all that other stuff. That's like the whole new platform, and definitely have thought about doing that version as well. And with this one documentary that I'm doing, it's actually trying to kind of morph into a 3-part series, one about different elements of the 90s era that have to deal with women without me giving too much away. So dance would be the first one, and then I would tell later on what the others are. I think what you're saying for me, I don't know if my Bobby Brown experience is worth 30 minutes of television, each week, or Michael Jackson is worth 30 minutes. I don't know. I don't know if I have enough there. And, there's some things too that I would keep private as well. I'm not on no Wendy Williams shit. So I have relationships.
Out. So like you'll choose a young actress, like maybe that chick Logan somebody or another. I can't remember what her name is, but she was on that
Dear
on
the. Is she from Dear White People?
From Dear White People?
Is that her?
Yes. Maybe she will be Les. You know what I mean? She'll be Leslie Segar in this 30-minute series, right? And it'll be her coming in. Okay, this is another gig that she's gotten, and then it's just the story behind what happened when you walked in and you were working on Crush on You. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? I can figure it out if you need me.
Producer Marlo J. I appreciate that, y'all, But that's where I'm at this, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot. I've had people say with all this downtime we've had, I've been doing a lot of different podcasts with people all over the place who suddenly have discovered me on the Instagram or rediscovered me. And a lot of people are like, well, we don't know much about your personal life. And I'm like, well, it's none of your business, but okay, I'll share some stuff. You know what I mean? So.
Well, knowing a lot of you know, your accomplishments and the things that you've been a part of. If you were to say, what is, and I know it's probably going to be hard, but if you had to say, this is the one highlight, this is the one thing that I'm most proud of from being in this industry, if it was just one, what would that be? And I know it's hard because you've done some iconic things, but if you just had to say, this is the one thing I'm most proud of.
That's kind of an easy answer. Because since I was a little girl, gymnastics really was my life and my dream. And I think I kind of still feel like how my mother feels. My mom is in shock that the girl who was kicking over the lamp, doing cartwheels in the living room, knocking shit over, got a full scholarship to college, got to dance with all these superstars and travel the globe. And I'm still kind of in shock that I was in this, you know, when I see my old bedroom, or that I remember sitting on my bed watching Solid Gold, Darcel Wynn,
right.
watching Debbie Allen. Like, those two women made me just be, I have to dance.
Right.
You know, I was in college or watching the early gymnasts, and there was like only one black gymnast, and I'm like, that has to be me. You know, and in college, sitting there senior year, and I got into a 5-year master's program for sports medicine, physical therapy, but you can only compete for 4. And I'm like, well, if I can't compete the 4th year, I'm out of here. Like the 5th year, sorry, I'm out of here. And then I was like watching music videos. I'm watching Jody Watley then, and Janet Jackson, and Vanessa Williams was dancing, and Paula Abdul. And I was like, I can do that, and I can dance better than in the video. And so I just was like, I'm out of here, I'm going to New York. And so to see all of that manifest, this little girl from Queens who's doing cartwheels and gymnastics, you know, be in Spain and be over in Germany and be over here because I'm on tour with somebody doing what I love, I'm still in shock. You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be the thing for me.
That's that's so dope. And I mean, I totally can relate to that, because every day you're just going about being Big Les. You're just going about handling your business. So you don't necessarily think about the accomplishments per se, because you're just going from A to B to C. You're just moving. But when you stop and look at it, you're like, yo, you know what? I did some fly shit. Like, that was really, I can't believe that I did that. But you don't a lot of times look at it in that way, because you're just living and existing and trying to get to your next plateau or whatever that is.
I don't even remember so much of the things. Like, this documentary and working on this stuff is forcing me to remember this and reach out to other dancers and you remember when, and blah, blah, blah. But when you're in it, in this industry, you have to be in one gig looking for the next.
Absolutely.
I've been blessed that, with the exception of like working for BET or maybe doing radio, I have been working for myself. Mm-hmm. And you gotta hustle like nobody's business. So even you can't get complacent at all. So while you're working on one, you can barely enjoy it because you're looking for the next gig.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of how it's been for the last 20-something years, you know?
Right.
So you forget. It's like, oh, that was fun. All right, next. You know?
Right. Go ahead, Marla.
Really quick. One, what was your first paid choreography gig? And 2, I'll go to 2 after.
I believe my first major paid choreography gig probably was, my first tour was a Key Sweat tour. And even though I was on there contributing to choreography, I wasn't really listed as the choreographer, but we were all—
Who was listed as the choreographer for that?
But I think April Thomas initially was.
Okay.
And because she, I think, had one of the closer relationships with Key. But we all back then were contributing, and it was kind of like, that's kind of how I got into choreography, is I would show up to these rehearsals with other choreographers, and they'd come in not prepared to give you choreography, talking about, I need an 8 count, or I need a whatever.
Right. You just there making it up, putting it together. You're like, what? You ain't ready?
Wait, what? And because I was a featured dancer, a lot of labels assumed that I was a choreographer. And I was like, well, then I'm about to be a choreographer.
Right.
I had already choreographed so many floor routines and gymnastics for even other gymnasts that to me it was a no-brainer, right? It's just different qualifications without having to do a triple turn here and this element here for gymnastic requirements. I can do whatever I want to tell the story.
Right.
So, yeah, I did it, or I can do it.
Right. Go ahead, Marlo, you have something else?
And the second thing is, tell us what was like, give us a crazy story of being on the road.
Oh, Jesus. There's like a gazillion stories between dancers not getting along and somebody cutting your show tights or or hiding your uniform in between costume changes, and you're like, you can't make it out on stage on time. Like, there's a lot of that going on. And then of course you get fined because, you know what I'm saying, and nobody owns up to it. So it's stuff like that. It's seeing all the groupies, the male and the female groupies, the mothers who bring their daughters to be the wife of, you know, the next girlfriend for Teddy Riley or for Keith Sweat, like pimping their daughters. So when that whole big thing about like bitches and hoes came out, I understood who people were talking about. Right. Because I could be on tour in like 1992 with Heavy D, come back in 1993 with Guy, and see the same chick.
The same old broad.
Absolutely. And just think about how many other tours happened within that 12-month span, whether it's rock groups, reggae groups, or whatever, of them trying to get backstage, meet the roadies, you know, meet the husbands. So yeah, I've seen all of that stuff, all of it. So all of that's crazy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's the best, some of the best times ever. I wish I could go back on tour now. Sure.
So Les, with all of the platforms and the access and the availability that dancers now have, so, you know, all the TV shows, So You Think You Can Dance, America's Best Dance Crew, we have all of these now, like I said, platform for dancers to showcase what it is they do. Mm-hmm. If you were able to implement things for dancers' rights, because still yet, even with all these things, dancers still, to me, and I come from that where as a dancer, they still don't get the just due that they should. So if you could implement something as far as dancers' rights are concerned, what would that be? Is it health fund? You know, because dancers still, there's unions, but not like an actor would have, right? So what do you think, what would you implement as far as for dancers' rights that, you know, that they should have being in a union? And we know there's dancers union, but still I don't think it's at the caliber that it should be.
Well, it's kind of hard. It's easy and hard to answer that question. One, because I'm not an active dancer at this moment. Right. So I don't know what the new things have been implemented. Right. I came up in an era where there were barely any dance agencies or representation for dancers. So we really had to do all the negotiation and all the hustling and stuff on our own.
And those are relationships. That was really who you knew is how you got those jobs.
Yeah, you kind of
have. Doc was a dancer too, right? You remember Doc was a dancer. He's been.
Well, here's the thing. What's funny is Les
with the shoulders. You know what I mean?
Les was. So there was a crew of females here in LA, like there was counterparts in New York. So I would see them, but I didn't know them personally, and I wasn't traveling a lot like that to New York. But when Les came to LA and became like a staple here, I met her through another dancer who I'm not gonna name because I don't really fool with her no more. But I met Les with her, and from that day, Les had always been from the first time I ever saw her. She was always cool. She had never changed, and it seemed like, Les, when you came to LA, that you had as much work as you did as in New York. That's what it seemed like. Was that the case?
That was the case. I'm going to get back to the other question too. But
yeah.
It was the case, and it was different because then, like towards the middle 90s, Bobby Ball Agency became an agency that represented.
Absolutely, BBA.
And I signed with them for like 6 months, but I was getting more work for me than they were getting for me. So I opted to leave. I'm like, I'm not giving nobody 10 or 20% of nothing that I'm negotiating. Also, there was what was called, it was harder for me to work out here in LA because they had what was called cat calls, or, you know, where women literally didn't even get to dance audition. You had to stand in a line and they would be like, you stay, thank you, you stay, okay, thank you, based on how you look. I could be in a room with girls that I knew I could dance better than. And because I didn't look the part, and as you know, there's still that whole light skin, dark skin dynamic that really still plays in the industry. It was really prevalent then that I would not work as much in LA. And of course, here I am in like baggy jeans and Doc Martens and maybe a crop top, and they're in like fishnets and heels and breasts out. And I'm just like, what's going on?
Right.
You know? But I've always had to anyway, because I'm considered larger than most as a gymnast and as a dancer. I'm 5'6". When people see me on the street, they're like, why everybody call you big? You're not that big. I'm like, I'm average woman size until you see me standing next to Simone Biles, who's like 4 feet tall.
Right.
And I'm 5'6".
Yeah, we're a giant. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I always had to be within the first 15 seconds of an audition, the baddest bitch.
Right.
I had to backflip off the rip.
Off the rip. Right.
And for them to be like, oh, okay. And so you weren't seeing girls do it and you weren't seeing Black girls do it. To answer your other question about the unions and representation, I think the standard of pay base rate for one needs to go up. Mm-hmm. I believe the per diem rate also needs to go up. I think residual rate definitely needs to go up. I think because there are so many dancers coming from overseas now, that there needs to be more of a better entry system for their visas and all of that other stuff.
Right.
I think the insurance, health insurance,
I think that's huge. That's huge.
Because dancers have the shortest lifespan or entertainment span that there is. You know, injury happens like this.
Right.
My heart right now is breaking for all of the athletes for the Olympics who are mentally and physically prepared to start in August or whenever this was jumping off. And now, especially for those who are retiring, you got to try and hang on another year and stay injury-free until 2021 to make it to the Olympics.
Wow.
And that's a really hard thing, to get your mind together when you know that this was going to be my last, or this was my first, and I could win. I can't imagine what Simone Biles is going through. She was ready, she was in shape, you know what I'm saying? And now I got to stay healthy, because if I fucking sprain an ankle or, you know, blow out my ACL just in practice, oh my God, my Olympics is over, right? Or the person who's retiring, who's going to be turning, you know, 35 to 36, a lot can happen with the body in that year. Arthritis and all this other stuff, and they may not do as well. So I feel for them. So the insurance and the medical aspect for dancers has to be in the union, has to have a way for them to like be able to prosper, get physical therapy, you know, that kind of a thing that they need. And of course, for moments like we're in now in this crisis situation, I mean, I think the whole entertainment industry, whether it's Music Cares or the SAG Actors Fund or Foundation or Dancers Relief Foundation, there are grants and stuff that are in there, but I think there needs to be a lot more donation that needs to happen for this purpose. So.
Right.
Amazing.
Hey, one last question. What is your favorite dance piece ever captured? We had to name one, so it's from any time frame, from any era, any style of dance. What would be the one piece that's captured that you like? This is the ultimate.
Oh my God, I forget what this piece is called. There's two pieces. I wish. No, let me be careful, because what was going on in the Lindy Hop era, we're talking like I think the 30s, 40s. I don't want to. Right. I don't want to be in that time period, you know, slavery, Jim Crow, whatever.
Right.
The Lindy Hop has me written all over it. And maybe on my I Am Leslie Segar page, but I'll post it. It's a crew of Lindy Hop dancers, male and female. The women were in dresses, doing flips. What? I'm like, oh my God, where am I? That should have been me all day. So
right.
Lindy Hop.
Are you in Idlewild?
No.
Oh.
But that piece is my that, and still West Side Story, every dance scene, from the gym scene to whatever, Officer Krupke to Jessica Gonna Get You, like that whole everything.
They did a lot of skipping. They did a lot of skipping in West Side Story, skipping and snapping.
But yeah,
West Side Story and the Lindy Hop. Okay.
She's gonna post on her page.
Mine would be the Nicholas Brothers in Stormy Weather.
Yep.
Where they
I know that.
Cab Calloway, I think.
Yep.
is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And ever captured.
Mine is
incredible.
crushing you.
Is what?
Did you say crush on
Can't
you?
even get it. It's so embarrassing she can't get it out. What is that again, Marlo?
On you. Listen, Junior Mafia's crush on you.
Oh no.
Every time that song comes on, I do the routine with it. I get on the floor because my feet get callous. You know what I mean?
You're ridiculous.
Marlo is ridiculous.
That video too, though.
Know it.
You were in it, Les?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, hilarious.
What's crazy, I wasn't even hired to be in that video. I was working behind the scenes on Rap City, and I happened to be wearing all green. And they were like, "Can you please dance in the video in the green?"
In the green scene.
Wow.
And so I was like, "Absolutely."
Learn the routine, or you just did your own thing?
So I did freestyle stuff.
So when you were
routine.
So when you were young, you know, kind of going back to like your bedroom when you were young and kind of envisioning.
I'm still young, Small. Still young. When I was younger.
Younger.
Did you have like in your head like this is my ultimate? This is who I want to work with, and this is like be my ultimate dream job, dancing.
It wasn't necessarily who I wanted to work with. I mean, dancing literally started later for me. It was all about gymnastics. And then being a club kid in New York. Like, people don't realize I was a full-fledged gymnast. Balance beam, uneven bars, vault, like full-fledged gymnast, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, since the age of 10, whatever. Any dancing for me, I'm not a professionally trained dancer. I'm a professionally trained gymnast who had to learn how to point her toes for floor routines and be graceful. But my professional dance stuff came from being a New York City club kid. And I'm a house music dancer before I'm a hip hop dancer. And a lot of people don't know that. So, but no, I didn't, like when I saw TV shows like Solid Gold or Dance Fever, I wanted to be on those shows, obviously. You know, when I saw Fame, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I wanted to be on TV. My mom wouldn't let me go to a performing arts school because even though growing up in Queens, you know, you had to take the train into Manhattan. And even though as a latchkey child, and New York kids tend to be very independent at a very young age, when you come from a 2-parent home or a single-parent home, she was just like, no, I work in Queens. We're not going to Manhattan. So I couldn't go to performing arts school, and it killed me. But she did allow me to nurture my gift by taking gymnastics.
I think we're running out of time. We have to do this again because Les has a plethora. Vocabulary today. Plethora. Just a plethora of stories, and I don't want to wait for the damn book. I don't want to wait for the book. I don't want to wait.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I'm gonna figure it out. We got so many options now. I gotta figure out how to share it, monetize it, make it a classic, not just be rambling on, but telling some real quality stuff, not being honest about what my truth is, but I'm not trying to take anybody down with salaciousness, but you know, some of the stories will have that element to it, obviously, because that's just how it went down. So right. I'm not coming with cruel intentions to say that, as we've seen. I'm not on no superhead shit. Like, I'm not doing that.
AM Caffeine Show. Once again, thank you, Big Les, for hanging out with us. So, Les, give folks your social. Let folks know how they can find you, where they can find you at, all that stuff.
I always say one page, but I have 2 pages. One is like my ratchet, put up a bikini shot, curse a nigga out page, which is at Your Girl Les, L-E-Z. And then the other one is my professional page. Leslie Segar, if you're trying to hire a girl. And I just got to say this, pray for me to the universe. There's one thing on my bucket list I haven't been able to do yet. You know, since I was a kid, is I've wanted to come back. It's like Pam Grier, female action hero, Wallace sister.
Yep,
done. Put that out there. Put that in the universe.
Put it out.
I'm trying to create my own script or work with some of the great directors out there. I'm just like, please let me be able to get that.
You are the mighty Isis. Go.
Ooh, yes, I'm Richard.
AM Caffeine Show. Marlo J., how can folks find you? Not like they would want to, but just in case.
First of all, they all want to find me. Might not want to find me right now because Les is here and everything, you know. So But, but you can find me on all social media. Huh?
Right, whoever's hanging out with us is great because we're in the middle of like the biggest battle between 112
and Jagged Edge.
So thank you, whoever's hanging out with us right now.
Yes, go ahead, Marlo.
You can find me on all social media at Marlo J. That's MarloJaye. And don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share Black Girl Bucket List on your YouTube channel. And check out That Girl Said on anywhere you watch or listen to podcasts.
There it is. Smooth D.
Hit me up all social media platforms, Smooth D, and that's SMOOTHDEE.
And make sure you follow the AM Caffeine Show crew at AM Caffeine Show each and every Wednesday and Friday. And Big Les, anytime. We love you here. You already know how I feel about you, Les. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Marlo's gonna hate. He's gonna hate on the Black love. It's okay. AM Caffeine Show will be back on Friday. Thank you, Les.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.